Look at him, bro. What happened? He needs to climb the stairs more. Or a monster? Cardio monster. Shoutouts to Brandon for, I guess, this. And I want somebody to please make a fat Biko, but that's not related to this topic. This is probably the thumbnail today. I want to talk about what happened to Subaru this recent episode. Quick little recap and some brainstorming and just like thinking about what the hell happened. Says spoilers, right? Just go watch the episode first. He wakes up and has seemingly forgot everything. And it's very alarming because this is the first time that we, in the anime by the way, has seen him actually lose the memory. And the thing about memory with Subaru is that this is now making me think this ain't the first time something like this happened. There's a lot of different examples and scenarios that I want to highlight, but this is basically the topic of today's video. So Subaru wakes up, he has no clue what's going on, and based off of his, you know, what he's saying, these lines are like just like season 1, episode 1. There's some interesting edits about this. Where is it? Like here, right? People are playing, you know, the what's it called? The Styx Helix, right? The missing whatever right here at the end as a callback to like season 1 stuff. So as soon as he did that, right, a callback to that. And this is very interesting. Because remember how it all began. How did it all begin? It began at the convenience store. And we have to make note of a couple of things. He's always been wearing his signature tracksuit, right? His black and orange Natsuki Subaru tracksuit. He has the items from the 7-Eleven too, right? And he has his phone. And he blinks and boom. Well, obviously this edit makes it seem like we just spawned here. But I want you guys to notice, the clothing didn't change. He doesn't have the 7-Eleven bag. He doesn't have the phone. So this is something that I think should be very important in deciding like what actually happened, right? We're not going to be able to definitively call out what happened, but let's just at least like build up some sort of framework. So for a lot of people assuming that this event in season 1, episode 1 of how he just mysteriously transported to this world, I don't think this is the same thing. Because I don't think Tappei would make a mistake. Like this kind of details, he's a very meticulous guy. If Subaru spawned with the same clothing he had back in these days, then I'd be like, oh my god, hell yeah, that makes sense. So rather than this Subaru being born, like basically being drawn into this world, to me it just feels like, no, this event happened and everything has been stacking up from seasons 1 to 4, and whatever event happened here, right? So let's go here now. If you look at the actual episode, what happens? Subaru's, he's bantering with Ram. Ram's talking shit, don't call me big sister. And then he gets an idea. He looks at the window, the doorway here, and this pretty sure is the Library of the Dead, right? And he realizes, oh yeah, I got a solution. He doesn't say what the solution or the question even is, but actually it's here. Guess I'll have to think of some way to deal with Raid. So he's thinking, probably, let me just go to the library and read his book. Makes sense, right? Raid is dead. Who knows how he died? Presumably old age. But maybe there's something in the books, right, that he could figure out. That's what I think happened, right? And he goes up and then wakes up. So to me, it feels like rather than starting from fresh, like here in season 1, it kind of feels more like he's in the same clothing and the memories have simply just been wiped. Reset to season 1 memory, but the body, is the body the same? If you look at Subaru's face, doesn't he look noticeably younger? Now I think it's because of the hairstyle, right? If you look at his hair, the way that these bangs are coming down versus how he usually looks with all the bangs going up, I think it could be simply that. But I also don't know if the art design is intentional. That like somehow this body has also like regressed. I don't know. We can then go nitpick about scenes like here too, right? And see, oh my god, what did Natsuki Subaru really look like? Honestly, he looks the same here. If you look at the reflection in the mirror, you look at his face, this face honestly looks like, you know, like this face. So I think we're nitpicking about the bangs being down, but the face looking younger was a very interesting thing. So if we just disregard the overall youthfulness, right? If you disregard the overall youthfulness of his face, then like, let's just assume that the memory has been erased. Yeah, another thing is obviously his leg, right? His leg and the arm, right? Remember, he took the curse shit last season. So if we take it off, what will happen? A lot of things will come to more light next episode. So right now, here's where we're at. This is the same body that has been teleported to this world in the beginning of season 1. And because of the lack of outfit change, right? I'm saying that, and I think it's just simply memory. Now let's talk about memory. Actually, before we go to memory, let's think about shapeshifters. So in ReZero, how many shapeshifters do we have, right? We can't ignore Pandora, right? Gluttony in the form of Rui, I think, right? That's from last season. Do you remember? There was a third Gluttony sibling. She had that blonde hair, and she could, you know, transform. There is also what other shapeshifter is there? Capella? Sure, let's just put Capella there. But of these, I don't think it's Capella, right? Again, we're just kind of entertaining this idea what could be going on. Pandora seems the most obvious. Why? For people that has been paying attention to these schizo details, what is the bird? Are these just random birds? I don't know. If you go look at some other scenes, the birds are there in season 1. In the beginning, during some pivotal moments, like when Rem says, you know, I love you. I love Amelia. Like, remember, because like when Julius pulled up, there was a fluttering of the white birds. And that elicited such a nostalgic reaction from me. I was like, I've heard this before. I think during my reaction, I literally went back and searched up my episode 18 of season 1 reaction and said, wait a minute, this is the same shit. So while nothing has been really confirmed, I think we can kind of go on with the schizo theory and perhaps assume that Pandora could be these birds. And she's constantly observing. She can't just be, I mean, she also, I think, has multiple other forms. Some people have found some other demi-human that is white and blue that shows up in a lot of different scenes. And Tappei, I think, is heavily hinting that Pandora exists among us. And if there is some sort of white character with blue colors, I know that the birds don't really have blue here, but the overall blueness in the background, it just gets me thinking, is Pandora here? And if Pandora is here, what I'm trying to say is, could this body just be Pandora? That doesn't make any sense, right? If we're talking about shape-shifting, Subaru waking up, so that means what? Pandora is now substituting for Subaru? And that she's acting like season 1 Subaru? How would she even know? That'd be some crazy Oscar level acting. Where would Subaru's body be? So when I think about shapeshifters in the context of this current scene, it doesn't really make sense to me. Now, you never know with Pandora. She got some fucking bullshit powers. Usually it's reality bending illusion powers, right? So you never really know with her. Who knows what's actually going on? Could Pandora have simply erased his memory? I don't know. Now let's talk about memory. Not just Rui, but all of Gluttony can do it, right? So there's a couple of different situations, right? Krush, Rem, and Julius, right? These are 3 victims, right? Victims of Gluttony, and they're very like all different, right? So name Yoshua too? Sure. We'll just mention Julius here, but name and memory. Oh, what was it? Name and memory, was it? And just memory. Correct me if I'm wrong, but what were the 2 parameters? It's not just eating the name, you can also eat the memory. And now we have combination that basically has every possible combination. We have just memory, we have just name, and we have name and memory. For memory like this, right? Right? Other people don't know you. You're deleted. You're above plus you're asleep. You're AFK. And this is sorry. Other people don't know you. You don't know you. So if we look at the combination of the different Gluttony, like, you know, examples, obviously it's this one, right? So what I'm trying to say is, if Gluttony somehow attacks Subaru in the library, who knows what happened, right? But if that did, then it can't be name and memory gone, because Subaru then I think would be basically get the comatose state, right? Now, who knows, because he seems to be different in the way that like these authorities affect him. Because like, consider this. Subaru is the only person that still remembers who Julius is. He remembers Rem. He remembers, you know, and basically what I'm trying to say is, I think Subaru is an exception. He is an exception that seems to not play by some of the rules of the authority. But for the sake of this example, let's just go with it. And if we go with this and just assume that he's just like a victim of gluttony, then it's this. So could it be that simple? That basically what happened in the library is he encountered gluttony, and gluttony somehow ate the memory away. But if we assume he ate the memory away, consider this. Krusz, how much of her memory does she remember? She remembers nothing, right? Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure Krusz feels like she's been wiped from birth. Subaru, on the other hand, if you look at the lines that he's saying, he's again treating this like a video game. Sweet! It's a parallel world! Oh my god! I was summoned into a parallel world! Oh my god! Right? Isekai! Also, the term parallel world is kind of crazy. I'll talk about that later. But let's just focus on this. If we're supposed to assume that this is going to be the same thing for Subaru, as in the memory got eaten, wouldn't Subaru also forget the memories of the Earth? But then you can also say, would he just forget the memories of existing in the ReZero world versus Earth, because these are two different things, and maybe because this is an outlier, it wouldn't impact that? Things to consider. But if we're going to go with the, you know, victim of gluttony theory, then this is most likely. But even then, there's a lot of like different holes that you could poke at. What are some other examples we have? Well, the thing about this is, before we go to even more speculations, I also wanted to kind of touch up on Subaru and like Shadow Garden. So if you remember, from the cut content as well, every time Subaru is in Shadow Garden, he's engaging with Satala as if he knows her really well, right? And a lot of people have been speculating like, what is going on? Why does he seemingly have these memories of this person that he shouldn't know? So, and now you have other story elements showing 400 years ago of like Flugel and Satala existing with Echidna and Raid and some Lugunican Royal and Hoshin of the Wilderness outside a watchtower. And a lot of people seem to think that like, you know, Flugel and Satala are simply just Subaru and Emilia of this generation. How is the body the same? Or I don't know, but there's a lot of different mechanics going on. But a lot of people seem to think that like ReZero is a story of a doomed love story that keeps looping. Okay? So off of the examples of Subaru losing memories and him resembling, and not just him, also Emilia resembling past historical figures, it feels like somehow, someway, Return by Death and all these different, you know, time travel, memory deleting is all about Subaru trying to save Emilia, or Flugel trying to save Satala. But it just doesn't work out and it keeps looping and resetting over and over again. And now that theory kind of becomes a little bit more, I don't know, fleshed out, because we have examples like this. Because again, how many times has this actually happened to Subaru? Right? If you look at this event, I would like to think that this is actually the first origin. Actually, this is a bad example. Basically, season 1, episode 1, right? Basically, the idea is, how did he just wake up in the world of ReZero wearing this tracksuit and the items from the mini stop? It does feel like this could be like the origin point. Because again, you look at the other scenes here, this shit happens. The clothing's still there. His gloves and whatever curse, is it still active, right? So we don't know. But it's really fun to imagine, like, how many times has this happened? How many times has Subaru actually forgotten? Should we even assume that maybe when he even had the tracksuit and stuff, that somehow, if we assume that the memory loss thing is like a constant just like function that happens to Subaru, what does that mean? That bro was already wandering around in Lunica, wearing his fucking clothing, but then just like lost his memory? That doesn't really make sense to me, but it's really fun to imagine Like, how many times has he actually lost the memories? How many times has this happened? If we think about now the consequences of this, this is actually really sad. Because while it's really fun for us, remember this in JJK? The KFC incident. And you know what? Last episode with Julius and Subaru kind of felt like that, in a way. As in like, man, they're kind of breaking up. It's not as bad as Gojo and Geto. It's not, right? This was really fucking bad. Julius felt bad and he was like, my bad, Subaru. I'm kind of crashing up, but you need to know your place and I'm going to do my duty as a foremost knight and we're going to go our separate ways, right? It's sad. This is the last interaction they're going to have. Because now he doesn't exist. It's a new Subaru. So now Julius, the last memory he had is the breakup. And no one remembers this guy anymore, literally. He was literally the only thing that existed for Julius. No one knows him. And now imagine the level of crash outs. Like, there's nobody to support him. No one to fall back to. Julius might as well going through his own Arc 3 Subaru thing. And Subaru right now seems to have just regressed back to Season 1. So it's kind of fucking crazy to imagine what will happen. Another sad thing? Betty. Betty, bro. Don't leave Betty behind. Now, Subaru is still here. And I'm sure he's gonna treat the drill, lolly like how he did in Season 1 with a lot of humor and enthusiasm. But like this connection, it's also kind of gone now. And this is such a cool twist because the story of ReZero has been what? Subaru basically being forgotten by everyone else. He tries to do his best, shit happens, he dies, we reset. And everyone else forgets their memories of those runs, of what happened to Subaru. This happens a lot in Season 1 where it's so heroic. Remember when he literally almost subjugated Betelgeuse? But we didn't realize that Subaru himself could be a host as a finger, right? And then he has to just end himself. He runs away from Emilia, goes to the forest, and Julius and Felix kills him. And it's so sad. No one will ever remember that run. And he has to just keep doing it alone over and over again. Now it's inversed. Other people, right? No. Yet Subaru is the one forgetting, at least right now. That's a really fun little parallel that's going on. I wonder what's gonna go on, right? Another thing that we could also consider is when he went to the library, let's just assume that he didn't meet Gluttony, right? Because like, I feel like Gluttony doesn't just go around killing people. You know what I mean? Time after time, we've seen examples where Gluttony lets them live because I feel like he enjoys the torture, right? The torment, I guess the tragedy. All of his victims, right? They kind of exist. So let's just assume that it actually wasn't Gluttony that erased the memory like Krush, because Subaru would then be basically, what am I trying to say? I'm trying to say, let's explore a path where he died in the library, okay? Rather than him living and Gluttony, he met Gluttony in the library somehow and got his memories erased. Let's assume that he like died. So no Gluttony is involved. So could this be just another phenomenon that we've never seen before where we died too many times? Like nobody really seems to understand all the rules of return by death. So far, it seems like, and in Season 1, there was like a moment where Subaru, before jumping off the cliff, he thought about like, whoa, like what happens if I actually can't return by death again? Obviously, if we explore this path where he died here, he did return by death, and this could be a new spawn point, right? Who knows exactly like when this is, right? This overall period. But imagine this is like a new spawn point and he died, and this is simply a new mechanic of return by death where you actually hollowed out, you died too many times, and therefore your memories got wiped. Could that be a punishment? I don't know. Right now, we're kind of just throwing darts at the wall, trying to see if anything and anything will land. Nothing I said today probably is close to what even happened, but it's fun to imagine what could have happened with all this brainstorming. Yeah, and of course the most obvious thing is, what kind of book did he read, right? Because Clearly, he wanted to find a way to beat Raid. If you think about a good solution, let's just read the book of Raid. If he could find it, he read it. And then he lost the memories? What kind of mechanic, what kind of reaction could have happened that reading a book about Raid could have lost his memories? When we read Tifon's book, Subaru kind of basically lived through it, those experiences. And I think it was supposed to be very like riveting. Like you feel all the fucking experience of what's going on. So could it be that while looking at the book of Raid, that like it was too much? Like it's forbidden knowledge. You're not supposed to know what happened 400 years ago. 400 years ago, what happened? Well, Satala was there. Flugel was there. Do you think that like it's some sort of time paradox? Or like Subaru is not allowed to come into contact with Satala or Flugel of the past? And some sort of crazy fucking reaction happened and his brain just fucking got overloaded and died? Basically, did we violate some rule of return by death? If we try to tell the people we have returned by death, our balls get gripped by Satala, right? So let's think about that. What could he have done when he read the book, when he met people that he shouldn't have, interacted, I don't know, and basically learning that shit caused Satala to wipe the memory. You know what I mean? So another theory at the end, I guess, is Satala wiped memory. Why? I don't know. Rule broken. Who knows what rule that could be? But it's really fun to imagine that like Satala basically got tired of all this bullshit of other girls getting the attention. And Satala got too excited because she's also like, Subaru's finally at the watchtower and she's close by. So she got really excited and decided to wipe the memory. And in hopes that like only she will be like focused on. As Subaru now forgot about all the other hoes. I don't know. At the end of the day, there's a lot of things going on. I don't think it's shapeshifters. The memory stuff with Gluttony seems kind of feasible, kind of. But it's false to imagine rule broken for return by death is what's going on. And we're just seeing like a new feature, a new rule, new mechanic being employed. Who knows what's actually going on? I'm sure the light novel readers do. Don't you dare try to fucking type in the comment section trying to act like a fucking anime only. So many fucking people trying to LARP and try to guide me in the right direction. I don't even fucking read the comments. Anyways, really cool episode. But let me nitpick. You know what? We're gonna nitpick in the other video. I'm gonna make another video about this. What do you guys think about this? We'll make a video about this. I low-key agree with it. Doesn't mean it's a bad episode though. See you next time.